Yeah, you're on, I think, huh?
Yeah, we're on, Gav. Thanks very much. You are watching Good for the Game TV, and we're live on YouTube, and we're talking sports betting. It's the weekend sports betting show. We'll be looking at all the sporting events taking place over the next 3 days, focusing, of course, on our bread and butter, which is rugby, but we'll also have some football later in the show and maybe throw in a little bit of cycling, perhaps even a bit of boxing or something. We'll see how things go. We'll see what my guests want to chat about. But first and foremost, we're going to be talking rugby on this, the show that helps turn your sporting knowledge into profits. Well, once again, I've got 2 accomplished guests to talk us through the rugby this time around. We don't have rugby championship, but there is plenty of rugby on the go. There's 3 Curry Cup matches. And for those of you who follow the Northern Hemisphere competitions, and you know, if you're a punter, you pretty much follow every competition. I think that's fair to say. There's lots to bet on there. We've got the Pro 14, the Kings and the Cheetahs. Well, they'll be entering that tournament for the second time. Will they show any improvement? We'll get an opinion of our panel on that. And, of course, you've got what I think is now known as the Gallagher Premiership, which used to be the Aviva Premiership in the UK. That's starting. We've got French rugby. So there's really just so much on the go. And let's introduce the guests. And I'm going to start down in the Eastern Cape. I think it's Hein de Mont, couch critic on the Good for the Game forum. Couch, great to have you on the show. You ready for a big weekend of punting?
How's it, Brent? Thanks. Yeah, no, definitely ready. Just still cross it myself for going pear-shaped on the Argentines there. I had them on the handicap and then went for box 1 to 12. So I'm a bit upset at that one. Well done on Gavin for sticking to his guns with that punt there.
Well,
I'm just going to jump in there. Han, if you'd taken 1 to 12 Argentina, you'd also have lost, unfortunately.
And Gavin, let's bring you in on that point, because I was going to intro you with the talk of the Argentina game. The last time we spoke, you were sitting in your Pumas jersey. It was an hour before kickoff. We did a betting preview. Henrik and I were decked out in our Springbok attire, and you confidently stood there and you said, "Guys, back Argentina on the board. Take them on the handicap." And let's face it, it was one of those rare bets where you were actually never in doubt, really. I mean, they literally dominated that first half to the point that the box were gone.
Yeah, Brent, I was never in trouble. In fact, I see Ruan Fariz on here. He says, "Hi, Oracle. How's it, Ruan?" He had your treble, and if you look at the comments on last week, so on that show on Saturday night, I told him to cover. He said he covered. I hope he was telling the truth and he wasn't just writing, because that was definitely the right thing to do. Yeah, look, you and Henrik were shaking your heads at me. In fact, I think Henrik's neck probably got a bit sore. He was shaking it so much. But yeah, look, I must be honest. I didn't think they were going to win by 13. I was hoping for Argentina to win. I honestly thought it would be a very low, won by a drop kick or a penalty right at the end of the game. Honestly, I thought South Africa would win by a couple, but I did press. The price went out to 5 to 2. Handicap went up to 8. At halftime, I got to tell you, I phoned into Gigi. I said to him, "What's the price of South Africa?" I was thinking, maybe I'll get a reasonable price. I was quoted 4 to 1. I couldn't believe it. I said, "What's the handicap?" He said, "It's minus 11. I said, "I'll take some more of Argentina, please." And so I pressed at halftime, won a little bit more as well. It was a great game.
So you had a good one there. Just seen Ruan in the comments column. He is saying he did cover. So that was a good move. So just what Ruan had won, he got my treble, 10,000 to nothing of my treble in the GG Gaming show. GG Gaming got mad. And it came down to the last leg. He needed the box by 7. So he was very wise there to cover. So no doubt ended up making himself a few £1,000 profit there, which is good stuff from him. No rugby championships, of course, this week, gents, but we're gonna talk Curry Cup first. There's been some major betting action already in the Curry Cup. And Gavin, I'll stay with you and go straight on to the Pumas Western Province game, because I'm sure you're going to have a view on this one. Opening line, Western Province minus 5.5, sort of shifted to 6.5. There's minus 8.5 Province in places. I know our good friend Henrik Swart, he was very bullish on the Pumas, but he has taken a bit of a back step on the Good for the Game forum and said, "Oh, Province have named quite a strong team."
Okay, so last year, Western Province went to the final, won the tournament. Again, I punted that as well. But if you look at the results, one result stands out quite significantly. They lost by 10 to the Pumas. I got to tell you, I'm that Pumas team, that venue, that Friday night rugby. I don't know how good a team has to show up there. It's just they're just too good at home. For me, I know Henrik said when he saw there was a bit of 2 to 1 earlier in the week. He suggested that it wasn't. He was expecting a bit more. I got to agree. I also thought it might be a bit more, but then when I thought about it, Yeah, I'm happy. I see some sites are down at 15-10. I know you said that the handicap has come up a bit based on the team that they've selected. But that $5,000 free bet I won at GVG Gaming, I took no time in putting it on. I stuck it all on the Pumas the Pumas to win the game. They don't have alternative handicaps. I managed to get 18-10. I'm happy with that. I've taken my -4. I think the Pumas will win this game by 10, possibly more. I think Western Province are going to arrive there thinking they've won the game. I know that I saw in some comments in the newspapers the other day suggesting that Western Province or Stroke Stormers, Western Cape Rugby are going to concentrate on winning the away games. This game's going to be very difficult for them. And if they do win this game, it won't be more than a couple of points. For me, the plus is an absolute certainty. A win is definitely a runner, and a -4 is also a runner. I'd be very, very nervous taking a minus in Western Province in this game.
Right. Well, if you did just tune in now and you heard Gavin talking about the Pumas, you might think you're watching a rerun of the preview before the Argentina test where he was all over the Pumas. And I wonder if he's going to get the same result. Hein, I see you smiling there. Is that a smile of, I'm following the Oracle all the way, or I think it's time the Oracle hit a brick wall?
It won't be the brick wall behind him, though.
Well, I love his confidence as always. You know, he's never one to sit on the fence. So he's definitely in a camp. I know Hendrik was very confident about the Pumas ahead of the tournament or before the tournament, and you know, you can get a bit of about that. Understand that, you know, they're a team that's played together. They're a unified team, and often the Currie Cup sides are a little bit disjointed in terms of the big union. So I think the Pumas have that going for them. But I listened to the press conference earlier this afternoon. And I must say, John Dobson and the lads did sound very confident on this one, which maybe is in Gavin's corner there, supporting his views. But I just think they actually mentioned that they're going for the 5 points. He said he wanted to come away with 5. So that's quite bullish of him. Damien Darlende back at centre. So yeah, they're rolling out some big guns. So I'm not piling in. I think Chris got about -4.5, and I actually think 4.5 isn't that at that price. I'd probably be going Province. At the current one, if you say it's 6.5, 7.5, then I'm staying out of it again. When I'm not exactly sure on a handicap, then the 1 to 12 market is where I go. So 1 to 12 Province for me. I know I hear the Oracle. I know they're tough to play there. I'm going to fall into the trap and just say Province. They're a young side. They shouldn't have too much baggage in the back there. I think they'll sneak it.
Han, I'm going to tell you that Dobson's right. They probably will get 5 points. I don't know how many more points they're going to get than that. But they certainly aren't going to beat this handicap.
I must say, if the first game's anything to go by, we should be in for some opinion differences tonight. That's for sure on that game. I must say, I found myself initially early in the week leaning towards the Pumas. And even before I saw the Province side there, I just started thinking about that Province performance against Free State last week. Now, Free State were obviously not focused on that. They were focused on the Pro 14. But in those conditions, I was seriously impressed with Western Province. I thought if you can put 32 points on a team at a very, very wet Newlands like that, and it probably helps that it was a good punting game for me. I was on Province over 23.5 at halftime and under 52.5 total points at the start of the game. So I was on that. So I got to say I was impressed, and it's hard not to be impressed with a performance like that.
No, definitely, it was very professional and a very solid showing. You know, especially thinking that's a bunch of youngsters. You wouldn't expect them to execute the game plan as well as they did, and that was again what Dobson's lines were. He was very impressed, but again, he said it doesn't count for that much. It's a completely different game, which is good. I think something that was quite strange is he said the Pumas play an old-style South African game where it's forward-dominated and territory and things like that, which I don't really agree with completely. They do like giving it some air when the opportunity is there. And the big thing that is a bit of a concern is that the Pumas have had the week off, so they've been really focusing on this coming game. And I heard something about them really targeting this Province game, so that's a bit concerning, but. Yeah, I'm quite a fan of John Dobson. I think he's a good tactical coach, a good technician. So I'm going to stick with my guns there and 1 to 12 Province, and then look for Ruan Nel as a anytime try scorer.
Right. Well, I'm pleased Hendrik Swart's not on the show because I can tell you, he hears you singing the praises of John Dobson. He's going to be coming out firing with all guns blazing. I think Hendrik's worst moment was when Province won the Currie Cup last year under Dobson. It certainly had to make him have a bit of a rethink there. Gavin, let me ask you this. You're entering the GG Gaming competition, Master Punter Master. you're entering that competition. It's details about on it on the Good for the Game website and also in our GG Gaming show. But if this game was taking place on Saturday, which it's not, of course, the competition starts on the 1st of September, would you be firing into the Pumas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't believe that tomorrow is the 31st of August. I just wish it was the 1st of September.
And you'd be fine. And tell me, Gav, what are your chances in this competition? You reckon you've got a chance?
I do have a chance, yes, Brent. And I think, as I said to you before we went on air, what interests me here is the stake limitation. I think, you're going up against guys with 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, big punters in South Africa, and there's lots of them. They are handicapped here, properly handicapped. You bring it down to 1,000 to 3,000. And for me, I'm going to start with a simple strategy. Start with 1,000 rand. It's easy to start with 3 grand. I'd rather not. I'd rather start with 1,000 rand. See how I'm going after a few days. But it does come down to things like discipline and money management. You've got a small amount of money. You've got to handle it. I honestly think the winner here, barring an absolute fluke of a guy getting sort of 50,000 to 200 on a soccer multiple or something like that, or a lottery win, I think the winner here is going to be something between 25 and 30 grand. And to win this competition, I think you've got to look a little bit further than your normal punting style and take the odd double and treble and try and link some bets together, because you do have a small amount of money, and that does definitely level the playing fields.
Talking of playing fields, how about we have a little playing field of our own, a bit of an even bet?
I'm happy with that, Brent. I think I've definitely paid for most of your bras at home. Most of our even bets have been on cycling. I haven't got much out of rugby from you. So I'm happy to take you on a general punting competition. I'll stick to the 500 rand though, because that's good enough for me. If you want to go more, we can maybe look at around about the middle of the month, 15th, 14th, something like that, and we can double up if you want. But to start off, I'm happy with an even 500 if you're interested. I'm
certainly interested. I would certainly be interested in a bit more, but I am prepared to wait for the middle of the month. Hopefully we're still alive then. And well, let's move on to the next game on the card. And this is the game, and I think it was Peter Paul who was mentioning on the comments early on about the betting movements in this game. And Hein, there was some minus 15.5 Free State early in the week. Henrik, I can tell you, one of the shrewd punters picked that up. He's all over it. I think he's bonded the house on that. Then that was Bet Exchange came out. WSB came out plus 45.5 on the cheetah. So there was a massive discrepancy. Of course, what's happened is punters have backed both sides of the line. And the handicap is now settled, it appears, anywhere between 28.5 at Sunbet and sort of 32.5. And first up, have you ever seen such big movements in the handicaps before, such differences in opinion with the bookmakers?
Brent, I think it's just my luck that it was the worst week in history at work, that I absolutely missed everything. I got on the evening and I saw all the comments and I was tearing my hair out thinking, how in the world did Henrik get 16.5? That I would also have put up a bond, the second bond on the house there, I think, at 16.5. He said all rules went out the window, and I could believe him on that one. It's probably danger territory, thinking three red cards and you might be in danger, but that's about it. So now I've never seen that kind of thing, but obviously it's actually probably a bit of credit, but also stupidity from Bet Exchange coming out with that. It's nice seeing them trusting themselves coming out with a price, but obviously they had no clue about reading something about the team selection and knowing about Pro 14, because that was a serious blunder coming out there.
Gavin, I want to ask you, because the question was asked on the comments, and I don't want to be bookmaker specific here. It could have been any bookmaker that came out with a minus 15.5. Obviously misreading the market, got potentially quite badly punished. I mean, I've been on bets like this where I've got on the value and the value hasn't arrived. The bookmaker could still win, let's face it, guys. But my question to you, the punter was asking, is there any chance my bet that the bookmaker could claim it's an error, for example? What would your view on that be?
No, Brent. This is clearly two traders looking at a game completely differently. I think the guy that went minus 16.5 on the Sharks, look, for lack of a better word, is probably dealing in a little bit of crack or something else. The Ike at 45.5 was probably closer to being accurate than the minus 16 guy. But, still, I mean, the handicaps come down at 30. As you know, I do tip the stuff on my site, and I'm not going to tip it like minus 16.5 because by the time my video gets out, it's not available.
Yeah,
so I'm trying to really steer people on what as the handicap lands up, something that's available to everyone. I'm of the opinion that minus 30 is the better of the two evils. I think it's more likely to be more than 30 than less than 30. It's probably about a 65 to 35% chance. The 45 can get beaten, but when I did hear there was 45, I certainly told the guys that are with me that 45 plus is a play, and at minus 16, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know you got to go minus there. But for me, yeah, minus 30 is good enough, and there's no ways a bookmaker can get that cancelled. It was available. There'll be people with screenshots. It's a reasonable opinion. I think if they went 9 to 10 about the Sharks winning the game, you could probably have a bit of a fight. But, the gambling board, I've been to a couple of hearings in the past. They're very fair. There's no doubt the punter's got a chance in South Africa. In fact, you would have noticed over the last couple of days, Superbets has been offline. And a lot of people are worried about their money. And I can tell you, Brent, you'll probably remember there was a company called NSI in the late 90s.
Yes.
They went out. Guys took 6 to 9 months to get their money, but they did. South Africa is one of the safest places to have a bet. If you've got a ticket, you're probably going to get paid. Well, I say probably. You've got a 99.9% chance of being paid. Unless you've honestly stolen, you've taken 20 to 1, about 2 to 1, you might be in a bit of a fight. But something like this, there's absolutely no chance a bookmaker is going to turn around and tell you you won't get paid. That's rubbish. I'm sorry. If you've got minus 16 ticket, you will get the money.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more, Gavin. Another thing is the market after that moved up in steps, if I can put it that way. It went minus 15, minus 20. So that shows that it's moving according to the money. And the other thing is, if a bookmaker is going to tell me that they made a mistake, I want them to do it straight away, not after the match. So
100%.
Points there by Gavin, and I agree with you. South Africa, at the end of the day, is a good place to punt, and justice will prevail. And I'm not for a second suggesting anything's happened here, but it was just a question we had from one of the punters. And certainly, when you get that sort of value, sometimes you do hear horror stories, and you think to yourself, geez, what if, especially if you've gone and taken the plus on the other side and you're sitting with a middle, you definitely want both sides of that one. Hein, just from your side, what do you like from a betting perspective now that the handicap's settled? I'll tell you straight up, I like the minus 28.5 at Sunbet.
Yes, I've heard some people that always get nervous on big handicaps like this. It's just, when you're the only one interested, it's like a golfer who's taking a putt and he's trying to get into the top 10 for you, and he hardly gives a crap about that putt, and you willing it in, and he's not focused on that. It gets horrible. So Sharks are up 36 points, and they let in a late try from some youngster of the Free State who's too happy to be playing his first game. I'm just not. I don't do those high handicaps. So I'll look for something different in that game. But at 30ish, that's just. And I'm already upset that I've missed a very low handicap. So I feel like I'm chasing my tail, trying to get involved in something after that. So for me, it's a try scoring market. Have a look at someone of the Sharks. Maybe a Cohen Bosch to score the first try. I actually like him to be a first try scorer in an open game. I don't know, get something fun going there, but no, I wouldn't go on the minus or the plus handicap for this one.
Well, I see Oracle is busy talking to Ruan Fourie in the comment section. Ruan saying this, just to go back to an earlier game, plus 8.5 Pumas. And I've just received a message from Gary Lenton. He says he's pricing up on Oracle v Brent Graham, Oracle v BG. Here's how he's betting: 5-2 Brent.
Gee,
what price will that make you, Oracle? Betting 5-2 Brent. What price do you think he's betting? What's he priced up to Oracle?
Oh, that'll be 3 to 10 or 4 to 10 if I'm lucky.
No, incorrect. He's priced you at 28 to 10. He's betting 9 to 10. None of us have any money by the end of the competition. I'd have to say that's pretty damn smart of old Gary. So yeah, we both. He's actually giving me a small edge over you there. But yeah, I laughed when I saw the 5-2. I thought, geez, he doesn't have much of an opinion of me. And then I realized he doesn't have an opinion of either of us, quite frankly. So we'll certainly watch that one with interest. Guys, let's move on to the last Currie Cup game. It's the Blue Bulls against the Lions. I made this very, very close game when I handicapped the game on the Good for the Game forum. And the bookmakers agree. I think probably the game with the least amount of movement. Gavin, I'll start with you. 11 to 10 Bulls, 8 to 10 Lions. I haven't seen your video. If I was a betting man, which of course I am, I would probably say that you're leaning towards the visitors here.
Yes, Brent. I've gone Lions here. I made this a 6-point game, maybe a 7-point game. I don't know, at 9 to 10. I think they're reading too much into the Bulls. The Bulls went to Cheetahs 2 weeks ago. I backed the Bulls because I thought the Cheetahs were going to practice and have a bit of fun and try a couple of moves, and I was right. Then the Bulls go down to Durban, and I climb into the -5 and -6. At halftime, I took some -13. In fact, Ike even asked me, he said, "What's is -14 all right?" I said, -15 is good enough as well. And yeah, they won. I think they won by 16. I think I did back the Bulls at 7-1 to win this tournament. I did think the one game that they may target was in Durban, but I wasn't impressed with the Bulls last week. I think the Sharks dealt with them the second half, as we know, and Henrik will also agree with me. They were probably a bit dismal from the knock-ons and mistakes. And anyway, the Sharks got up. They won the game. I think they're up against the Lions team here. I know Ross Cronier's not playing. I'm not worried about that. The Lions put on 60 points the other day against the Griquas. Griquas scored 40, which tells me that the Pumas are pretty good as well from a comparison. I don't think the Bulls are going to win this game. I really don't. I've gone -6.5 here. I think I got 18-10 or 16-10, something like that. I can't remember now. I think the Lions will win this game by probably around about 10. I don't think they'll run away with it, but I don't see the Bulls winning this game.
Right, Hein, you come in there now on this game. Have you got any money down yet? What are you thinking?
Early in the week, I thought, as I was a bit divided there. I thought maybe there's something in this Bull side, but I don't know whether you can rectify those things in a week. The handling was shocking, and yeah, I don't have a lot of hope for them on that front. Again, the Lions, though, they were disappointing for me. You always know they can score tries, but letting in 40 points, I mean, gee, I don't know, that was shocking. So I don't know, defensively, they still got the same problems they've always had, but I think you can expect quite a few tries in this one. That's the big thing I'm taking out of it, is I think it'll be a open affair. At this stage, though, I'll go for Oracle, and even a little bit more confident. I think that it actually could open up to one side, taking it quite comfortably. So I'd actually have a nibble on Lions to win by 9.5 plus, or more than 9.5 at I think it's 5-2. I think that's a nice little thing to have. I mean, they could be up by 4 or 5 points and get a last try and still cover it. So I think them to win by 10 or more points at 5-2 is a decent one. And then again, you can have a look at a little try scorer. Similani to score the last one again is a runner for me. And actually, the one that I was scared that I didn't take last week, which could come in, is Corne Fourie to score a try. He's a very mobile hooker. Or he's converted to hooker, so I think he's a good runner for a try there, and you might get a decent price anytime on him.
Right, well, I'm not going to share with you what I like in that game because it's going to be going against both of you, but I found myself leaning a little bit towards the Bulls, sort of writing off that bad performance last week. But it's not a game I'm getting terribly involved in. I'm happy to stand back and say, listen to Couch and listen to the Oracle on this one. Gents, that brings us to the end of the Curry Cup chat, but of course, plenty of other rugby going on around the week. And starting, I suppose let's start with the Pro 14, because we've got two South African sides playing there. We've got the Cheetahs and the Kings in action. And I must say, I'm sort of going into this from a South African perspective without a lot of confidence.
Yes, definitely. I mean, obviously, the performance of the Cheetahs in the Curry Cup and their warm-ups, as Oracle also put it, wasn't great. But I don't think you can take too much out of that. I think they tried a few combinations. I think it's a positive for them that Franco Smith is back involved in the setup. But on the other side of the coin, they've lost quite a few players. So I don't think you can expect the same levels of them this season than last season. So yes, there could be a bit of trouble. I'll go into the specifics of the match just now. And then the Kings, I'm not expecting anything from them. I know Isuzu's involved now, but that's a long-term thing, that you're not going to see that immediately. I'm expecting them to pick up a few beatings, but again, playing over there against one of the other backjackers, really, if you can call them that, I would also not back them comfortably to be the big handicap. So I wouldn't be jumping onto that one, but I'd rather be focusing on the Cheetahs game for a punt.
Gavin, let's have a look at those handicaps. You got the Kings again away at Zebra, and you're looking at about plus 16.5 Kings there. I see Henrik saying go for both the European teams against South African teams on the minus. I don't think you're too surprised about that one. But what do you think? Any chance the Kings can stay within the cap there?
Yeah, look, Henrik's probably right. I think if you're going to have a serious bet on this game, he's probably right. I'm not putting a lot of money on it. And what I'm looking at is this Zebra team. They won a few games at home. But they didn't win any games by more than 10, if I remember. I think the highest they won by was about 8. And this handicap's just a try too much for me. But again, we don't know anything about this Kings team. I mean, they're not in the Curry Cup. We got absolutely no idea. Susie, I don't know. You know, when they play the Cheetahs, it'll be a 4x4 challenge in the middle of the field. They may have to take the Harleys off. I don't know. But look, this team's got nothing to lose. They've lost every game last year except one. Zebra was, if you remember, was the team that came down to Port Elizabeth at +8.5 the first round. I think it was the first game in Port Elizabeth, and they thumped them by 30. I remember thinking I was going to punt the Kings that day, and then I saw, geez, he's like some +8.5. I'll take a bit of that, and they ended up winning the game. You know, Zebra, they didn't impress me last year. They didn't beat anybody comfortably. I think his handicap's a try too high, as I said. When it comes to Cheetahs game, you know, they lost two games. I know they've lost a few players, but I'm not too worried about that. They've played over there, the conditions they used to. Last year, they lost 2 games by more than this handicap. The handicap, I think, is up to +22.5. You probably even get +23.5 if you look around. For me, it's worth a punt at a 3-try start for a team again that nobody really knows. You know, all we know is they can't swim. They lost in Newlands last week. John Dobson is clearly a better swimming coach than the Cheetahs coach. You know, but I don't know how much you can read into that match. Seriously, I didn't put a cent on it. I'm just going to have a small punt on the Cheetahs plus, and I've had a small punt on the Kings plus. But honestly, if I lose, you know, it's less than you know, a couple of cases of beer. It's not a lot of money, so really, I'm not concerned about it.
Well, Hein, just looking at the comments column, we got Nico de Toy following, and he says Kings and Cheetah teams very average. I must admit, when I looked at the team lineups, it's kind of what I thought as well. And I hear what Gavin's saying. The handicaps are big. He's not getting too involved. But do you have any firm fancies for us there?
Yeah, Masa, I'm probably going to upset most of them. Then I think the Cheetahs have had a little bit of a knock hit out, and I think they'll start off fine. I don't know what Munster have been doing. I don't think they've quite settled into Van Graan yet. I'm going to take the Cheetahs to perform in the first half. I'll take the Cheetahs to cover the 11.5 first half handicap. I think after that, you know, the wheels could come off, but I think they'll come out there, be raring to go, really give it their all and see what they can do in the first half. So in 40 minutes, I think they'll stay within 11 points or 12 points.
It's a nice strategy for the Cheetahs games, because certainly last season, I remember they actually were competitive in a lot of those early European games in the first half, and then tended to get blown away in the second. Hein, staying with you for now. I'm not going to run through each and every other fixture. Anything else on the Pro 14 card that stands out for you?
I just highlighted there. I like Ulster and Scarlets just as a watching point of view. I think that'll be a cracker, a pretty good game there. But then from a punting perspective, Leinster and Cardiff again, that should be a pretty tough tussle. But I just think Leinster, even though they're playing away from home, could do the job. So I'd actually take Leinster half-time, full-time at evens there. For me, I think they're the better team. And then as a little double, I'll take Ulster to win onto Leinster to win at 16-10.
Right, Gavin, anything else for you besides the South African games there?
Yeah, I'm going to go against Couch on that Cardiff-Leinster game. I just thought there was a bit of value in the Cardiff to win the match. I think they were 22-10, if I remember correctly. I took the punt yesterday. Again, looking at their games, I mean, look, I'm no Pro 14 expert. You must know that. I'm certainly not borrowing money on this tournament. But that Cardiff price looked a little bit big. They had some decent results at home. They looked very tough to beat at home. And first game up, you know, my theory is with every tournament is a team arrives, they're fresh, they're ready. You know, they're at home. If this tournament was won, a lot of home games were won, even for weaker teams. Yeah. It just seemed a little difficult to win an away game. I mean, the Cheetahs was an excellent example. I think they won 1 game away, other than the Kings, obviously. It's a tough tournament to win away. The other one is you were talking about the Ulster game. That Ulster -3.5 also looked a little bit of value. It looked like, I don't know, I just got the feeling it was a sort of a 7 to 10 point game. I'm not having a bet on it yet. I may have one on the weekend, but yeah, they're tough, and I'd like to watch this tournament. You know, also we handicap. We don't get to see every game in South Africa. This is the other problem. And you know, Han, I heard you talking about a couple of players in the Munster team. I honestly don't know any of them, and you know, if you do a little bit more research than us, you're likely to find a price that's value. I just haven't invested that much time into this tournament. I make good money on the Curry Cup, and that's where I stick to it.
Right, guys, I think we're going to almost leave it there for the rugby. Just there is some Premiership and, of course, some New Zealand rugby. Han, I'll start with you before we get on to the soccer. Anything else that we've missed from a betting point of view that you're really strong on?
No, nothing else for me there. I'm pretty, as Gavin said as well, you can't really spread yourself everywhere. So I'll definitely focus on Currie Cup and then just that 1 or 2 in the Pro 14, which I'd like to watch. But no, nothing on any other front. The only other punt I thought that I'd like to take is Free State to score the last try of the game at 25-10. They might lose by 50, but hopefully they'll score the last try.
There's a positive man for you. And Gavin, you're just getting messages from Gary Lent, and he says money pouring in on the 5-2 Brent Graham to beat the Oracle. I wonder where they get that from. 18-10. But Gavin, thanks very much for joining us for the rugby chat.
It's only a pleasure.
In touch with you on Twitter and all the rest over the weekend, and good punting. Good. Hope you get off to a good start in the comp as well.
I will. Thank you very much, Brent, and I will chat again over the weekend. Enjoy. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Excellent. Thanks. That was Gavin Cohen, OracleRugby.com. And joining us now to talk soccer, he's normally fast asleep by this time, Chris Sturdy at Good for the Game on Twitter. Chris, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm okay, Brent. Wide awake and ready to talk football.
Excellent. The first thing I want to ask you, Chris, I was watching PSL in midweek. I can't remember.
Why, Brent? Why?
I was watching Pirates against Leopards. I had the volume down, so I couldn't really tell what was happening. I saw the strangest thing. Leopards got an own goal. The Pirates guy runs to the crowd as if he scored a hat-trick, and he throws his shirt into the crowd, and he steams off down the tunnel. And then after the break, I think it was the same guy comes out, bandaged as though he's just come out of a war zone, and from all accounts got a red card. Just briefly, what happened there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody really knows exactly what happened apart from the guy himself, Gabuza. But basically, you're right, Brent. He was involved in an assist, which was an own goal by a Leopards defender, which gave Pirates the lead. He ran off in celebration, but took his shirt off, immediate yellow card, or yeah, would be, hurled his shirt into the crowd, and then with the rollover, I'm off. And off he went down the tunnel. There was an altercation with his coach, and also a couple of players tried to stop him, but he disappeared down the tunnel. Pirates played the rest of the half with 10 men. They came out for the second half with 10 men. Commentators didn't know what happened. The studio analysts at halftime didn't know what happened. But as it turned out, Gabuza had actually been sent off. Yellow card for the goal celebration, taking the shirt off. Yellow card for leaving the pitch without permission. But he only received his yellow cards when he reappeared on the touchline 2 minutes into the second half. I mean, the lad must be going through nightmares now, eh?
Unbelievable. Well, let's get into let's start off with a bit of English Premier League, Chris. I know you've been through the fixtures. You've got a preview there on Good for the Game. Leicester against Liverpool. That's our first game on Saturday. Liverpool, of course, flying high. I think they're second on the table to Spurs, only on goal difference, 3 from 3. What have you got? What have you got for us here?
Yeah, I reckon Liverpool and goals, really. So Liverpool and over 2.5 goals. There was some 9 to 10 around. I think it's probably still around that price now. I just think Liverpool, too many guns, and away from home, it doesn't matter. They create chances like there's no tomorrow. So yeah, I wouldn't look any further than that.
Well, I was just actually going to have a look at the GG Gaming site because that was part of my treble this week, and I managed to get 12 to 10 with GG Gaming. Liverpool win and over 2.5 goals. Couch, let me bring you in there. Anything on that game?
No, that sounds like a solid punt. I was thinking Liverpool -1, so I mean that actually the 2.5 might actually be the better one to go for in case they let in 1 or 2. So no, I think I'd actually swap bets there. I was going to go Liverpool -1 at 11 to 10, I think, but now I might switch over there.
Right, let's go to the next game. Chelsea up against Bournemouth. Bournemouth normally got a few away goals in them. Chelsea, of course, also got a 100% record. They're very short here, Chris, at 2 to 7. And you got anything for us here from a betting angle?
Yeah, look, I respect Bournemouth. I love Eddie Howe. I'm a confirmed fan of the way that he goes about his job, and he's done wonders with Bournemouth. But I like Chelsea in terms of the way they've started. This new guy he's hit the ground running. He was at Napoli, and they scored an awful lot of goals last year, did Napoli, and that's sort of swaying me that he'll carry out the same sort of work at Chelsea. Chelsea to score in both halves was my idea of a bet for this game.
And what price have you more or less you got there?
I think 8 to 10, Brent.
8 to 10, nothing wrong with that. Just to confirm, Peter Paul on the comments confirms that GG Gaming are 12 to 10, Liverpool plus over 2.5 goals.
Wow,
so
that's great.
That'll be tempting you there. Chris Hine, anything on this one?
Chelsea and both teams to score at 13 to 10 for me.
Right, so Hine also, see, we're thinking along similar lines here, I think.
Yeah.
West Ham United v Wolves. West Ham have got off to an awful start, but they've had some tough fixtures. They play against Wolves, who would have taken a lot from the 1-1 draw with Manchester City, which at least delivered for us last week, for both teams to score. Hein, I'll start with you on this one. Anything?
No, nothing for me yet.
And Chris?
Yeah, Wolves, we've been backing Wolves, both teams to score, and we've got a result 2 out of 3 weeks. It might come up again this week, but when I checked the price, it was 13 to 20. That's not really where you'll find me hovering around. 2 to 3 goals in total. Yeah, it sort of covers a West Ham revival, or indeed Wolves piling a bit more misery on them. That's what I went for here, and that's probably a shade under even money.
Yeah, let me give you my tip here. It's actually, I like Wolves. I think they're going to gain a lot from that City game. I think they've shown me enough in the first few weeks to think they can put West Ham away. So I'm going for a away win here at 18 to 10. That takes us up to Crystal Palace v Southampton. I'll share my bet at the end, but this will be one of my bets of the weekend as far as the Premier League goes. Crystal Palace 19 to 20. You can get 3 to 1 Southampton and 5 to 2 the draw.
I'm hoping that you're going to be on Palace, Brent. Am I right?
You are spot on.
Okay. I wouldn't have the confidence.
I watched them against Liverpool, and I was very impressed with them against Liverpool, despite the fact that they lost 2-0.
Yeah, me too, but they let me down away at Watford last week, eh?
But Watford are a top team.
Yeah, we'll speak about them soon. But yeah, I don't know really. Palace, I would think are the right ones. I'm just a bit wary after they let me down last week.
Right, Palace and Hein, can we
I'm staying out of that one there, eh?
Okay. When Hein hears I'm confident on a football bet, he just stays out no matter what he had planned before the show. Another bet I quite like this week is in the next game, Everton up against Huddersfield. Chris, Everton short price here at 5 to 10. They've won their only home game so far in the season, and I know we were on them that time. What do you think against a Huddersfield side that's got off to a very slow start, but has had certainly 2 of the 3 very tough fixtures?
Yeah, not a game that I've looked at in great detail, Brent, but I'd be interested in maybe Everton clean sheet. Jordan Pickford, ex-Sunderland, great goalkeeper, hey? And I reckon that, Huddersfield, not an awful lot of firepower. I would have thought Everton win with a clean sheet.
Yeah, Everton win with a clean sheet. You should get a decent price. I actually like Everton -1 here. I think they're going to win by more than a goal. And I see that's around the 14, 15 to 10 mark. Hein, anything for you?
Yeah, I was looking to get involved in Everton in some way, shape, or form. I was just maybe that -1 is probably the way to go. I'm actually going to include the 5 to 10 into a few multiples over the weekend. So I'm backing Everton this weekend.
Brighton is up against Fulham. Brighton are at home. Of course, they beat Manchester United at home by 3 goals to 2. They play against a Fulham side that were Gary's best bet last week in the GG Gaming show. They arrived 4-2 winners, I think it was, over Burnley. This should be a very interesting game indeed. We've got Brighton that are the favourites at 5 to 4, Chris. But the bookmakers certainly don't make them runaway favourites. I'd like to know what you think of this one.
Yeah, well, Brighton beat Man U in their last home game. And then they were disgraced in losing 1-0 at Liverpool last week. But Fulham are learning every week, eh? And they got that win over Burnley, as you mentioned. And I quite like Fulham in terms of like the way they go about it. But with Brighton having a decent start as well, or a decent last couple of games, should I say, because I think they got beat at Watford first time out. Everybody loses at Watford, you know?
Yeah.
Apart from
Spurs meet Watford.
But I would have thought the draw's a runner, because I've got respect for how both sides have had recent results, you know, so or recent performances, and I'll go with the draw.
Well, I just see Oracle in the comment section. He's now watching the show, of course, and he's thanking Gary because, of course, last week he won himself an even 3,000 with Fulham winning last week, and they really did win without any real problems. Hein, anything for you, Brighton, Fulham, or you're eyeing out the next game, City versus Newcastle?
No, I'm actually waiting for the Arsenal game. But no, if pushed for a bet, I'd also go for the draw. I'm not fancying anything strongly there, and I actually think the draw could be a good one.
Chris, Manchester City are obviously very short at 1 to 9. They were held at Wolves last week, and you've got to think there could be some sort of backlash here for Newcastle. Obviously, you're not going to be piling into the 1-9. You found another angle for us?
It's difficult here when City are such sharp price favourites when they're taking on sides that are struggling, when they're at home to sides that are struggling. Yeah, Wolves gave them a game last week, and it was a good game to watch. City's only home game, they beat Huddersfield 6-1, I think it was. Aguero hat-trick. You got to think that Newcastle are sort of struggling on a similar level to Huddersfield in terms of the way they've started. With that in mind, I'd look at, say, over 3.5 goals, but not one that I'd really get massively involved in.
And imagine over 3.5, you're getting somewhere around the even money mark there.
I think just shy of even money, probably nearer 17 to 20, you know. But I watched Newcastle at home to Chelsea last week, and it was like homing in on a attack and defense training session. You know, I mean, they just hardly seemed to want to cross the halfway line. When Chelsea opened the scoring, they did actually get a goal back that came from nowhere, and then Chelsea found the winner just after that. But you know, you can't imagine that Newcastle are going to show too much ambition, and that's what puts you off an avalanche of goals. But then Huddersfield were probably the same, and they got hit for 6.
Right, well, let's move on to Sunday's games then, and we'll start with Couch because he's already mentioned he has a bet in this game. Arsenal away at Cardiff. Cardiff still haven't scored a goal in the Premier League. They have at least got a point, or 2 points, I think, a couple of goalless draws. What have you got for us here, Couch?
Brent, even a team who haven't scored a goal can score against Arsenal at this stage, I fancy. So I'm giving Cardiff a goal, yeah. So I'm taking Arsenal to win and both teams to score at 2-1.
Chris, you in agreement there?
I thought about that. Cardiff, as far as I'm aware, they're the only side in the English Premier League that hasn't scored a goal this season. And that worries me a bit. But then you look at the way that Arsenal have been defending and you think they're going to get a chance. I went with over 2.5 goals, not disputing Couch's pick of both teams to score and Arsenal win, because I think that's a runner as well. But if Cardiff did fire blanks, I think Arsenal is still in with a shout of scoring 3 times.
I think my high school football team could score a goal, and we didn't have a football team.
I must say, Chris, you sort of led me into my bet there because I'm not convinced Cardiff are going to score a goal, but I do like Arsenal. I think they're starting to play a little bit better now. They had a very tough start. They didn't overly impress against West Ham, but I think we're going to see them hit their straps. And I'm going Arsenal -1 here at 14-10. So for those of you who don't know about handicap betting in soccer, Arsenal have to win by more than a goal. So they must win by at least 2 goals. And that's what we've gone for there. So, yeah, there's probably an outside chance all of us could win, but it's unlikely. Someone's probably going to lose on that game. Let's go on to Burnley up against Manchester United, Chris. Burnley have had a poor start to the season. Manchester United under big pressure. Mourinho is certainly coming under the whip, storming out of press conferences. My first instinct was to go against United here, but geez, when I look at Burnley, I'm just not convinced they're the team to go for against United.
Yeah, I agree, Brent. I think that most of the sides that United could have come up against this weekend, you'd probably be looking, you know, for them to turn over Mourinho's side because they were awful against Spurs. Where's our friend Yaku? Is Yaku in? Because he was big on Spurs on Monday night, hey, and I wasn't as keen, and I went with a draw.
I remember him tipping Spurs at 19-10 on the comments. So Yaku was spot on. He is commenting, and he just enjoyed one of Couch's calls. I think it was the call in the Arsenal game. He's saying, "Great call, Couch." Normally, we like to call a great call after the bet's arrived, but Yaku's prepared to give that one nice and early. I like your confidence, Yaku. So he's there. I'm going to ask Yaku. Yep, he says he's here. Yaku, tell us what your best bet is on the weekend while we continue to talk about the other games. Couch, so first up, United, Burnley, anything there?
Oh, Mourinho told you guys he's got more titles than the rest of the other 19 managers put together. So come on, let's back Man U. They're definitely taking this one, guys. He's going to have them fired up. I've taken Man U half-time, full-time, 16-10.
Right, well, I'm going to lead you into the next game because it features one of the giants of London football, Watford, up against Spurs. Now, guys, I had to laugh the other night. I was listening. There's a radio station in Joburg called Hot 91, and there's a sports guy called John Walland who's been around the block a few times. And John interviewed Gary Mabbott, a former Spurs player who I won't tell the whole story, but had an incident in South Africa recently where he woke up in a lodge being eaten by rats. So not a very pleasant story, that one. But where I'm going to is the way John Wallen introduced the show. He said, we've got 2 of the title contenders playing against each other on Sunday. And I quite enjoyed that one because I've sort of been mouthing off in Twitter about Watford. But as a Watford fan, I know that we're sitting high at the moment. We've won 3 from 3. It's not going to last. And Chris, They're 9-2 shots here. Spurs are 6-10. Is this where Watford's run ends?
I think it probably is, Brent, but I think that 6-10 is quite short for Spurs because Watford, they've been so lively and maybe they can give them a scare or two. I was shied away from, 6-10. I'm not interested. My go-to man whenever I'm like, I fancy Spurs, but the price might be short. Eriksen. I think Jaco will back me up here. That's why I was glad to see that he's in, because we're big fans of Eriksen and the way that he plays his football. And he comes up with some key goals. He's not a prolific scorer from midfield, but he gets goals when Spurs, maybe the edge of game 2-1 or something like that. And I love this guy to bits. He's a threat from dead balls. He can pop up in the penalty area, and 2-1 anytime goal scorer. That's Eriksen. He's my man.
Just to clarify, Jaco, when he says he loves the guy to bits, he wasn't talking about you. He was talking about Eriksen there. So yeah, that's a nice one. I'll give you my bet on this one. I do think Spurs are going to win it, and I think we're going to get goals. And I'm looking here at Spurs and over 2.5 goals at 11-10. Couch, please tell me my team Watford have got a chance, and you're going to tip them on the plus handicap.
No, I'm actually following you on that one. That would have been my punt as well, the over 2.5, and them to take it. And again, same as Everton, I'm throwing Tottenham into a few multiples. I've got pretty much good confidence in them to take the win this weekend.
Right, well, that's the English Premier League wrapped up for you. Let's talk a little bit of MT and 8. We've, of course, got the semi-final second legs. I'm just having a look in the background for a bit of betting there. And Chris, how did you go in the first legs last week?
Got one draw. Went for draws in both games. Cape Town City beat Sundowns 1-0, so no joy there. But Chiefs and SuperSport drew 2-2. And why we have this over 2 legs, I mean, it can only be down to the sponsors. But both ties are in the balance coming into this weekend.
So the final, let me understand, Chris. The final is just a once-off.
Yeah. Finals are once-off, semi-finals are 2 legs.
Quarterfinal once-off, semi-finals 2 legs, and then a final once-off. Yeah, it seems like a bit bizarre. Well, let's start on that opening game. We've got Kaizer Chiefs. They are favourites to beat SuperSport. Chiefs, I see, blew a 2-goal lead in midweek against Bloemfontein Celtic. Couldn't have been too happy about that. They're sort of 14-10 to win the match. You can get 5-2 SuperSport. The draw, I haven't looked all over the place. I see World Sports Betting have got 37-20. And I'm saying, Chris, hard to look past another 90-minute draw here.
One surprised me. SuperSport beat Pirates on penalties in the last round. They won this tournament last year on a penalty shootout. Chiefs have drawn 4 out of their 5 league games. They did actually, the only win they've had this season came in MTN8, 3-0 over Free State Stars in the quarterfinals. But they haven't won a game since. And, they're drawing 2-2 with Celtic having been 2-0 up in midweek. You just wonder where the next win's coming from. But they are under pressure to win a trophy. They've got 2 good strikers. They don't seem to be able to defend at the moment. I could see this going into extra time, even to penalty kicks. But yeah, anything around 19-10, 37-20 for the draw, I think you'll get a run for your money.
Well, I've got a feeling that Couch hasn't really studied up on this, so I'll just touch sides of them very quickly afterwards to see if he fancies anything. But stay with you for now, Chris. Sundowns against Cape Town City. As you rightly said, Cape Town City winning 1-0 at home. Sundowns, well, they've had a very hectic schedule compared to most of the other teams. They've been involved in the CAF Champions League. All of the teams, they were involved in Champions League in midweek. Cape Town City, of course, were involved in PSL action. Who progresses from this one, and anything on the game?
Yeah, this is tough because although City won the first leg 1-0, Sundowns did make a lot of changes. But then the alternative view there is that Sundowns have got 2 squads that can pretty much match most teams in the top flight there. Sundowns will be at full strength. They crashed out of the Champions League in midweek. He's going to play his strongest available team. It would be a disaster for them if they don't make it through to this. Even money for Sundowns to win in 90 minutes. The big problem here is their last 4 games, 2 Champions League matches against the team from Guinea that knocked them out, a 0-0 draw with Highlands in the ABSA Premiership, and then last week's 1-0 defeat to City. Sundowns haven't scored for 4 matches. Can you believe that? I mean, that's almost as incredible as Gabuza substituting himself in midweek, I still think that Sundowns have got the class. Even money, but not a banker.
Well, you're going against Oracle there. I see you like Cape Town City. Oracle saying, Chris, that they won't play extra time. They go straight to peanuts in this tournament?
Do you know what? I'm not sure about that, but I did check up on the rules just earlier, and away goals do count. So if City were to get a goal, then Sundowns are going to have to score 3.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Yeah,
Oracle could well be right in terms of the way he goes there. I'm not sure, and there's often some differentials about the way that things go in Europe in their cup competitions as to how we go here. City, I think they're going to need to score. I don't see Sundowns going a 5th game without a goal, which means
so it could be maybe even a game to look for goals, which is quite a rarity in South Africa, cup games in particular.
Maybe second half most goals, hey, as the game opens out, as maybe, if City are holding Sundowns and Sundowns get a bit more desperate, then it increases the chances of an away goal. And I think that's what Benny McCarthy will be looking for. I don't think he'll be too adventurous at first. But Sundowns, they've got the guns. It's just whether those guns fire.
Well, Oracle reckons he's right, but that's not a surprise to any of us who know the Oracle. He's always pretty confident.
This next week, yeah.
He's pretty confident about his predictions. I just want to talk a little bit louder because I think Heinz dozed off while we've been talking about the MTN8 there. Heinz, am I safe to say that you're not getting involved in this one?
No, I won't be getting involved. I just I hope that Kaiser Chiefs shirt there in the background from Chris is a few seasons ago, because I've heard they're pretty rubbish this season. So, yeah, I'm hoping he's not supporting them too loudly this time around. But
it's actually my daughter's shirt. It was presented to her by the Kaiser Chiefs team in Port Elizabeth the last time that they won a trophy. And in the corner of the picture frame is the pin badge of Mr. Stuart Baxter that went on to take the Bafana job. A gentleman, if ever there was one. But amazing, hey, that since he did that, he quit Kaiser Chiefs about 5 days later, and they haven't won a trophy since.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that was some time back. Well, gents, thanks very much for your input on the soccer. Just having a look at the weekend. We got a bit of F1 on the go. The World Sports Betting money back special for second place could be worth looking at there. And, of course, the three of us will definitely be following the Vuelta. I've had to sit out a few stages this week, perhaps for the best, because I've been pretty busy at work and just haven't had time to get the bets down. I haven't watched the last kilometre of today's stage, so I'm going to ask you not to mention what happened, although I have strongly suspect I know who the winner was, 5 to 10 shot. But we'll see. Have you had a look at tomorrow's stage, the profile, Chris?
I think tomorrow, maybe a chance for the breakaway again. To be honest, Brent, scoot ahead to Sunday. I think if Hein can back me up on this one, Sunday there's a out of category climb to finish. Yeah, which is when the GC is really going to take shape.
That's it.
You'll agree with that one. Should we do maybe a preview for that one, guys? Maybe Sunday morning or even Saturday night or something?
That's perfect. Fine with me, yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, so if you are interested in the Vuelta, you can join us probably Saturday night or Sunday. We'll put it out on Twitter when we're going to be talking about that. Guys, that brings us pretty much to the end of the show.
Can I get, Joe, while you were talking, you mentioned it quite quickly, is the Formula One. So it's actually my best punt of the weekend. And you mentioned the World Sports Betting money back. So I've already lumped on at even money Sebastian Vettel. Last week I said take some of Verstappen just to cover yourself and you'll have an interest. But no rain around, Ferrari home ground, Ferrari on form, Vettel on form. He's taking this one. Even money, I've gone quite big there. I think he's strengthened now to about 9 to 10, but I think it might still be worth your while if he stays on track and nothing strange happens. He's winning this.
Chris, anything else for you? I know you're not going to have a Formula One bet. Our man Southpaw in the UK will probably be popping on the forum on Sunday to open a thread, and perhaps we'll get it started with him with Heinz selection. But anything else over and above what we've chatted about?
No, I think I'll concentrate on the football, Brent, and maybe follow the lads with the rugby, although I guess there's some split opinions there, particularly Bulls, Lions. Either team to win by 7 points. Bulls,
I like
Lions.
That. I haven't seen that market before.
You get the draw as well. Yeah.
And it's very much the same as betting the 1 to 12 markets kind of thing. In fact, I think you've got an extra point or two, so not bad. What price did you get there?
31 to 20, I think it is, for that outcome. They're also pretty good on the 1 to 12s as well. If you do fancy that, there's no way that a team's going to run away with it, then it's always a runner. So they're worth looking at for those 1 to 12 markets.
Right, guys. Well, thanks very much for joining me. I'm looking forward to taking on the Oracle in the GG Gaming Master Punter competition. Should be another 500 Rand banked for me. I normally make a habit of taking him out in the Tour de France League, to the point that he's actually stopped playing it in recent years because he keeps on saying I need to have a handicap. But anyway, looking forward to taking him on. Great that we can put our money where our mouth is. Gents, thanks for joining us, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks a million, Brent. Thanks, Hein.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks also for the guys with the live comments. It's great to be on the show and just see the comments coming in, the questions, the banter. It really is excellent. I see Peter Paul saying there, I'll fax the 500 Rand. Yeah, great. I think we should ask Gary to price up and see who the punters fancy out of Gavin and myself. But everyone, thanks very much for watching. You can subscribe to the video below. Don't miss any of our shows. We're going to have a couple of previews over the weekend, I'm sure. And, of course, every Thursday night at 9 o'clock, you can watch our weekend sports betting preview. Thanks a lot, and good punting to you this weekend.